So first of all, I would like to thanks our management of RIMT University, our Vice Chancellor Dr. Vijay Agarwal ji, our Pro Vice Chancellor Dr. B.S. Bhatia ji, and our Director Academics Dr. M.S. Bindra ji to give this opportunity. All the deans, respected deans, heads and respected faculty members, you are welcome to this webinar, and all the students, you are also welcome to this webinar. So before starting the words by Dr. Satinder Kumar ji, I would just like to introduce that Dr. Satinder Kumar ji is working as an associate professor in Punjab University, Chandigarh, having more than a decade experience. He has 59 research papers in reputed journals including Scopus and ABDC journals, and 18 articles and chapters published in various books, and he himself has published 5 books. So we are again very glad and delighted to have you, sir, amongst all of us. And without wasting much of time, I would request you to please share your knowledge amongst all of us. Thank you so much, sir.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So before I'm going to start my lecture and the presentation, first of all, I would love to thanks to the Dr. Vijay Agarwal ji, the Vice Chancellor of this RIMT University, Dr. B.S. Bhatia ji, the Pro Vice Chancellor, M.S. Bindra ji, the Director, and my dear friend Nitin Thapar ji, Head of the Department, and Dr. Harpominder Sindhu ma'am, for giving me this opportunity to have an interaction with the participants from the different streams. So today I will talk about regarding what are the different things that we have to consider when we are going to develop a research manuscript, and what are the different tips that we have to consider. Just a minute. Is this PPT visible, sir? Am I audible to you? Yeah.
It's visible, sir. It's visible.
Okay. So today I will talk about regarding what are the different dimensions that we have to include when we are going to develop the research manuscript, and how the different things that we have to consider when we go for publication for the research manuscript. Normally in the present scenario, if we have to develop or if we have to write a research manuscript, what are the different things that we have to include and what are the different things that we have to exclude that must be considered by us before. If we have been normally all people have been writing a research paper, but only few of them or few of us are able to get a quality publications. Normally we all know what are the different parameters, what exactly the structure of the research manuscript that we can have for writing a research manuscript, but what exactly the content and the things that we are going to include, that is more important for the researchers to decide what to write or what not to write. So the final stage of the research project is writing of a manuscript. Means when the research is completed, the survey that have been done by us, the analysis part that has been completed, and more or less the interpretation part is almost about to over. Now once these things, the research project is over, it is complete, now we have to convert them into a manuscript, in a research manuscript, so that we are able to get it published in a quality paper. And it is only the research manuscript that will allow us to become a part of the review of literature or a body of knowledge. Normally we all people would love to be if our paper is going to be cited by the number of other scholars, and that is only possible if we are able to get our paper published in a quality research journal. So when we people try to develop a manuscript, we have to decide what exactly that we have to include in the manuscript, so that whatever the informations that we are going to include in the manuscript, it could be easily understand and it can be replicated by the other, so that we can have a maximum or more citation for the research that have been done by us. So the purpose of the research manuscript is to communicate how the things that have been done, what exactly that we have included in the introduction part, what exactly the research methodology that have been used by us, what exactly the findings that we are going to have, and based upon those findings, what are the implications that and the suggestions that we can have that would be a part of the research manuscript. So the purpose of research manuscript is to communicate how the work that have been done, so that whosoever is going to read our paper, they can access the veracity of the results, and they have come to know the results, the conclusions that we are going to have. This is the process that normally we all know that will take place from the very beginning of development of the research manuscript and getting it published in a quality research journal. So first we have to complete the research, means the survey, analysis, interpretation. So after the completion of the research, we are going to frame the research manuscript. Once it has been ready, now we are going to submit the same in the different journals depending upon the theme of the journal and the title that have been chosen by us for the research manuscript. Once it has been submitted, now the editor and the chief editor, they are going to assign the reviewer who is going to review our manuscript. So depending upon the evaluation and the review of the reviewer, the different decisions that would be taken by the chief editor, either we are going to have a revision, we are going to have the rejection. That all would depends upon what exactly the comments that have been given by the reviewer. It is not necessary once the revisions that has been received by us for the manuscript, and later on after making a revision and the modification as per the comments that have been given by the reviewer, our paper is going to be accepted, and we are going to get the acceptance for the same after making a modification as per the comments that have been given by the reviewer. Even after a revision, we are going to resubmit the same, and again either we are going to have the acceptance and the rejection depending upon the second time the reviewer, the comments that have been given by the different reviewer. So this is basically the normal process that we are going to have for getting our paper published in different research papers. Now, normally it has been seen that we get confused because before we plan, before we go for developing a research, development of the research manuscript, the number of different things that are going on in our minds. What we have to include in the research methodology? Should I focus more on the research methodology? Should I have to use some very new statistical techniques? Should I have to go for the new softwares? What exactly that I have to include in the implication? What limitations that I'm going to have? What are the different references that I have to include? Should I include a huge number of the references in the bibliography or in the references section? The number of different things that are going on in our mind, and ultimately we get confused what we have to include and what we have to exclude, and what would be the length of the paper, what to do, and ultimately it is all because of the number of different questions. The researcher, they get confused, and ultimately they are not able to get to develop a quality research manuscript. But I would suggest, instead of from the very beginning, instead of having such large number of questions, or these are the different questions due to which we get confused, I would suggest we have to systematically start developing the manuscript, and what systematic and what sequence that we have to follow, that all would depends upon the different parts that we are going to have the manuscript. That will include the title, abstract, introduction, method, results, discussions, and the references. It is not that only one part of the manuscript that is going to play an important role. It is not only the results and the findings that we are going to have that is more important for the editor or for the journal or for the readers who is going to read our paper later on once it has been published. No one, it is not like that. No one is going to bother about the title. No one is going to read the abstract. We have to give equal importance to all the parts of the manuscript. Either it is a title, method, even the references part, they are important for the editor and for the chief editor of the journals. And normally I have seen that majority of mistakes that have been done by us in the references part. And normally from the very beginning, if in case we have been getting a rejection, it was all and all because of the references that have been included by us or the mistakes that have been done by us in the references section of the research manuscript. So I will talk about regarding all these things, why title is important, why abstract is important, how introduction is going to play an important role, what exactly the research methodology, what we are going to include in the research methodology section, so that we can pay attention to all these different parts of the manuscript, because we cannot ignore even a single part of this manuscript. All are important and all they are going to play an important role for getting or for developing the research manuscript. Title, it is basically the backbone of the manuscript, because it is only normally what exactly even you can see in your life what exactly you people are going to do. First, you are going to read the title. If you feel the title is not interesting, you are not going to read the paper. So that's why a title is backbone of the manuscript. And what exactly that we have to include in the title, how we can decide the title for the research manuscript. So whatever title that we are going to decide, it must indicate the content, the findings of the study, and it must attract the attentions of the reader. If these things are there in the title, only the chances are there the reader, they are going to read our research paper. If the title is not interesting, it is not getting the attentions of the reader, forget about the paper that would be read by the readers and the audience. Because it is only the title that would decide either the research manuscript or the research paper is worth or not. So before we are going to decide the title of the research paper, we have to read the instructions of the journal in which we are going to submit the paper. The different journals, they are having their own guideline with respect to the title. And normally we are not going to bother to what exactly the guidelines that have been given with respect to this title. We are going to decide the title based upon our experiences, based upon whatever the title, normally it is our psychology is that whatever the title that has been decided by us, it is okay. And we are not going to bother about the guidelines for the journals regarding the title for the paper. One example that has been given at the end of this slide. If I talk about regarding the bad title, critical analysis of spamming and e-marketing, it is not going to indicate what exactly the things that are going to take place in the paper. What findings that we are going to have in the paper. It is not even getting the attention because it seems very unclear what exactly, how the research that would have been done in this research manuscript. But as far as the first title that have been given, an empirical analysis, clear-cut indicating an empirical analysis that has been done in this manuscript. And empirical analysis of for what? Unsolicited commercial emails, the spams that are going to take place in the email marketing. So somehow it is clearly indicating the content that we can have in this paper and the findings that we are going to have in this paper. So we have to be very careful when we are going to decide the title. It is only the title that is going to play an important role for the citation of the paper. Why we people are going to write the manuscript? The number of different reasons are there. But as far as the major and the main reason that we have been writing a research manuscript is getting more citation for the research that have been done by us. So title is going to play an important role for the citation of the manuscript. The different persons, the different experts, they are having their own opinion. What length we have to decide for the title. Either we are going to have a short length or we are going to have a large or a long length for the title. That the different persons, they are having their own point of view. We will not go into that discussion. What exactly, either we have to decide the short or the long length. But the different research that have been done by the different persons, they are indicating that the length of the title and the citations are strongly associated with each other. Because as far as the Thomas and Neil, they are indicating that more length for the title that we are going to have, and the higher the chances are there, our paper is going to be cited by the others once it has been published. I have given one example. I was talking about whatever the title that we are going to decide, it must indicate the content that we are going to have in the manuscript. It must indicate the finding that we are going to have, and it must clear-cut indicating the things that are going to take place in the manuscript. So the example that have been given, one of the paper that have been published by us in the Helion, one of the Scopus Index journal, the structural relationship between tourist satisfaction and sustainable heritage tourism development in Tigray. This is the study that has been done at the Ethiopia. So clear-cut, the title clear-cut indicating that a structural relationship that has been studied in this manuscript among tourist satisfaction and the sustainable heritage tourism development. So by reading this title, anyone can have the clear-cut idea what exactly the things and the study that is going to take place in this title. As I was in the beginning, I was talking about we have to follow the guidelines of the journals. The different journals, they are having their own guidelines. So as far as the Nature, it is one of the best world journal having a high citation, high impact journal. So according to this journal, the title should not increase 2 lines in a print. The maximum lines that we can have for the title is the 2 lines. It should not exceed more than 2 lines. We should not include the abbreviation number and the punctuations in the title. And it must include the sufficient detail for indexing purposes, mean for the citation purposes. And we should not use the technical words in the title, because we have to get the attention from the readers who are, or from the audience who are not from the same field. So ultimately, whatever title that we are going to decide, we have to follow the guidelines of the journal in which we are going to submit the paper. If we are not going to follow the guidelines of the journals, the chance we will not be able to get paper published in that journal. The second part of the manuscript is the abstract. After title, what exactly that we are going to have? It is the abstract. So what we have to include in the abstract? What we have to include in the abstract? So whatever abstract that we are going to write, it must be very informative, indicative, and it must reflect the main or the full story of the paper. Informative in the way, what exactly the objective that have been taken, research methodology that has been used, and findings that we are going to have. This is the things that we are going to include in the abstract. I normally consider abstract as an advertisement of the article or the paper. What exactly, being a marketing scholar or a teacher, why company they have been doing an advertisement? Just to promote their product and the services, so that they can increase their sales, so that they can aware more customer regarding their product and services. So these are the reasons that the company they go for the advertisement. But as far as being a scholar, being a researcher, I consider abstract as an advertisement of my paper. If I have been able to write a good abstract, that I am going to consider it as an advertisement for my paper. So if my advertisement is effective, and the chances are there, the readers and the audience, they are going to read my research manuscript, and later on the same paper are going to be cited by them in their research. So I consider abstract as an advertisement for the paper. So whatever abstract that we are going to write, it must be crisp, concise and accurate. As I have already discussed, we have to include in the abstract how the things that have been done, what exactly the objective that we are going to have for the study, and findings and the implications that are there for the same research and for the same study. And I would suggest, normally I have seen that even in my personal, if I talk about my own scholar, even before the completion of the paper or the research article, the students, they start writing, or the scholars, they start writing about the abstract. But I would suggest we have to write the manuscript at the end. Once the paper and the research is complete, research manuscript is complete, only then we have to go for writing this abstract. And we should not include and provide detailed information in the abstract that would be a part of the research manuscript. Normally we are going to have two kinds of the abstract, structured and the unstructured. It is basically the skeleton of the abstract, means the pattern that we can have for the abstract. Either we can go for the structured and unstructured. It is not our discretion. Either we can have a structured and unstructured abstract for the paper. We have to follow the guidelines of the journals. I have seen that if I talk about the Elsevier journals, all the journals which are being published by this Elsevier, they are going to have an unstructured journal, unstructured abstract. But as far as Emerald, Wiley are concerned, they are going to use the structured abstract. Structured means we are going to have the headings and the subheadings for the abstract. Just like the research manuscript, that we are going to have the different sections. We are going to have an introduction section, we are going to have a research methodology, a review of literature, we are going to have the findings, implications, and at the end references and the discussion part. Similarly, in the structured abstract, we are going to have the subheadings. Means we have to write about the purpose of the study, why we are going to conduct the research. We have to include the headings of research methodology that have been used by us. We have to include the findings that we are going to have. We are going to, we have to include what implications that we are going to have. Managerial as far as theoretical implications that would be there from the study that have been done by us. But when we talk about this unstructured abstract, we are going to have a small single paragraph. We are not going to have any heading and the subheadings in the unstructured abstract. We are going to have one paragraph, and I normally, it has been named as a unstructured, but I normally do not consider this such kind of abstract as a unstructured, because the way we are going to present the information even in this unstructured, it is again in a systematic way, and the same sequence and the system that we are going to have in the structured, same we are going to follow in the unstructured abstract. Means in the same sequence we are going to include the information, but the only thing is there, we are not going to have the subheadings for the abstract. Even in the unstructured, first exactly we are going to talk about the objective. Then we are going to talk about the research methodology, findings and the implications. The sequence is same, only the difference is there. We are not going to have the heading and the subheadings in the unstructured abstract. So this is how we have to be very careful and we have to follow the guidelines of the journal in which we are going to submit the paper. Either accordingly we have to develop the structured and unstructured abstract. As far as the word limits are concerned, the different journals, they are having their own word limits. Few of the journals, they prefer to have the maximum word limit is 250 words. And there are few journals, the maximum limits for the abstract word limit that have been given is 1000 word, even 1500 word. That all depends upon journal to journal what exactly the word limits that have been given by them. The third part of the research manuscript is the introduction. Again, normally when we are going to develop the research paper, and we keep on writing in the as far as the introduction section of the paper is concerned, without bothering what exactly the things that we are going to include. My dear friends, we have to be very careful when we are going to write the introduction part. It is not an unimportant part of the research paper. One study have identified that only less than 2% readers they are going to cite our paper. Means the number of persons they have been reading our paper, but only less than 2% they are going to cite our paper. And among these less than 2%, only 98% they are only going to read the introduction section. So we have to be very careful when we are going to write this introduction section. So what exactly that we have to include when we are going to develop this introduction section of the research paper? It must include the brief background information of the current study. It must be focused. Say for example, if I have been talking about regarding the impulse buying behavior, and my intro part and the content that I am going to include in the intro, it must move around this impulse buying behavior only. I should not talk about regarding a generalized way of a consumer behavior. What are the different theories that have been given with respect to this buying behavior? It must be focused. It must and move around only the construct and the study that I am going to conduct. Integrated review of literature. Normally you must have seen that if I talk about like 5 to 10 year backs, the different journals and only for the different research manuscript, we are going to have this separate review of literature section for the manuscript or for the research paper. But right now it is not happening the same. We are not going to write a separate review of literature for the research paper. Normally it has been merged with the introduction partner. Right now in these days, whatever the research and the articles that we are going to have in the different journals, we are not going to have a separate section and the headings for this review of literature. Now it has become a part of the introduction section of the research paper. So we have to include the ROL part with the introduction part, because we have to provide some background for the research that we are going to conduct, and background from where we are going to get the background from the past studies that have already been done by others in the past. We have to include only the updated literature only. Means we have to include only the recent studies that have been conducted by the others in the same area. Because only the updated and the recent studies that will indicate what things that have already been done by the others and what exactly the research gap that we are going to have, due to which we are going to plan our research. Introduction section, it should not be very long. We have to make it more concise by indicating what exactly the things that have already been done by the others and why we are going to conduct our research. When we are about to complete the introduction part, it must indicate the significance and the importance of the study. Because when as I was talking about the review of literature that we have to include in the introduction part, without having a separate section for this review of literature. So meaning therefore we have already included the studies and the recent studies that have already been done by the other, and by reviewing all those studies, now we can indicate the importance and the significance for the R study that we are going to conduct. So such significance and the importance of the study that must be indicated at the end of the introduction section when we are about to complete our introduction section. And this is the section that will indicate the research questions that we are going to have for the research that we are going to conduct. Okay, the simple questions that you must ask, you have to ask from yourself, why the other people they have to read they should go for reading your paper. What exactly the new things that you are going to do? What new study that you are going to have? What new findings that you are going to have? Why you people are going to conduct a research? So you have to find out the answer for all these questions. And if you are having the answer for all these questions, you would be able to have in a better place to write the introduction section. But if in case you are not able to identify the reasons for conducting a research, then you would not be able to write a introduction section, because it is only the introduction sections that will indicate the reasons for conducting the research. As I was talking about, at the end of the introduction part, we have to indicate the significance and the importance of the study. And you would be able to write that significance and the importance of the study if you are able to identify the reasons for conducting the research. And from where those reasons that will come from the past studies that you have already reviewed and the research questions that have already been identified by you people. So introduction section, it must talk about regarding the topic and related studies that have recent studies that have already been done. In this case, one suggestion for all the researchers, we have to avoid using self-citation. That can give a negative impression for if in case we are going to have the self-citation. Not all, we can have self-citation, but we have to avoid it in the introduction part. So as far as this introduction section is concerned, it must include the background, rationale, aim, and the research questions that we are going to have. If these things are there in the introduction part, it would make your introduction section more interesting. As I was talking about in the previous slide, only less than 2% they are going to cite, and among these less than 2% only 98% are there who are going to read the introduction part, because it is more interesting for them. It will create a curiosity among the reader to read your findings, because in the introduction part, the significance, the innovativeness of the studies, that will be highlighted. Third part, the next part, it is the research methodology that has been named as material and the methods. This is the things that normally that we can write before the completion of the paper. And even if a survey is going on, the data collection process that is going on, we can write this section, because in this section we are already having a clear-cut understanding that what research methodology that we are going to have, what research design that I am going to have. Either I am going to have exploratory, descriptive, conclusive, causal, experimental, whatever design that we have been using. That all we know in advance. What sample size that we are going to have, what statistical technique that we are going to use, how we are going to test the reliability and the value. These are the different things that we already know in advance. So we can start writing this section even when a paper is in the process. So as far as this research methodology part is concerned, we have to provide enough information with respect to how the work that have been, how the research that have been conducted by us, when it has been conducted, why it has been conducted, means by indicating the objective. We have to provide sufficient information so that later on whosoever is going to read our paper, they have most clear-cut understanding. This is how the research that have been done by us. If in case we have been using a new technique, say for example these days bibliometric analysis that are normally the people they have been working on this technique. Because this is somehow new technique that they have been using in the research manuscript. So because the new technique they have been using, either by using the different software, they have to provide some more detailed information, so that later on whosoever is going to read the paper, they can have clear-cut understanding. This is how the things, the work that have been and the research that have been done by us. It must include the scales. Scales means the different variables and the factors that have been used by us in the manuscript. Either we have been going to use the standardized scale or unstandardized scales. Either we are going to use the structured or unstructured questionnaires. So all these details that we have to include in the research methodology section. The more important for the editors and for the reviewer is the measurement and the scales that has been used by us. Because the different scales that have been developed by the different persons. And the scale, whatever scale that we have been going to use, we have to provide the detailed information, whose scales that we are going to use. Say for example, in this case, I'm talking in this model I have been talking about regarding the technology acceptance model, TAB model, that have been used by us in the social commerce, in the S-commerce. The different factors that have been used by us was the social capital, perceived usefulness, perceived ease of use, and social influence. And the standardized scales means that have already been developed by someone else, and same are being used by the different scholars in their study in an innovative way. So whose scales that we are going to use, we have to mention in the research methodology part. The different variables that we are going to use. So these are the different things that we have to include. Now the another part is the results. means the findings that we are going to have. Normally you must have seen that, say for example, if you have been using a SPSS software for any statistical analysis, the number of different tables that are there in the output file of the SPSS. Same has been happening if I talk about the SEM-MOS, or if I talk about any software that you have been using for the statistical analysis. So how we have to present those informations in the result section? We have to use the descriptive headings that clearly indicating the results. So instead of including all the tables, we have to merge few of them, and we have to present the information in such a way that it should be short as far as easy to understood or easily understandable by all the readers and by the editors and the chief editor of the journal. Whatever informations that and the table that we are going to include in the finding part, it is not hypothetical. We can include any table that seems interesting for us or that seems easy for us in the finding or in the result part. Whatever table and the figures that we are going to include in the results, we have to be very careful. Does these tables and the figures are indicating the results that we were supposed to identify, depending upon the research title, the research objective, the research questions that has been framed by us? Because it is the title that is going to indicate the findings that we are going to have. Research objective is indicating what exactly we are trying to identify or we are going to study. Research question is highlighting what exactly we are supposed to find out, what exactly the answer that we have been finding. So depending upon, according to the research title, research objective and research questions, we have to include the information, the tables and fact and figures in the result section. And we should not repeat the same information in the result section. Say for example, one result, the findings that have already been indicated by, that have already been included by us in the result section in a tabulation form, and there is no need to include the same information in another graphical way or in another way in this section. That will be the replication, because that have already been indicated. And as far as the interpretation part is concerned, that again would be a part of the results. Instead of writing each and every figure in the results, because again that will not make any sense, or that will not make any improvement in the paper, because because all such kind of informations that have already been indicated by us in the table, we have to interpret in such a way that we are going to write, or we are going to highlighting only the important findings that we are going to have, the important results and the new things, new findings that we are going to have. We have to indicate only those things instead of writing or interpreting each and everything that we have, the findings that we are going to have from the statistical analysis. So normally I would suggest to all my dear friends, we have to avoid using these words like proved, confirmed, removed all doubts. Okay, anyone who can put some light why we have to avoid all these words in the paper, more specifically when we are going to talk about this result and the finding section? Anyone who can put some light? No one. Okay. Normally, because we people are from the social sciences, and these are the words that normally we use in the sciences, because whatever the results and the findings that they are going to have from whatever the experiment and the research that have been done by them. Same results that they are going to have for the second time when they are going to have the experiment at the same place or on the same parameters. But as far as in the social sciences, we cannot have the same results for the same, even if I have been using the same questionnaire and from the same respondent I have been collecting the information, but we cannot have the same result. Even in the secondary data, if I talk about the financial statement that have been used by us, we are not going to have if in the next year we are going to use the same statement, the results would be different. So that's why we cannot use these words in the social sciences. We have to avoid using these words in the result section of the research manuscript. A discussion part. One of the most difficult part to write. I must say, after the editor and the chief editor, after reading your abstract, they are going to read your discussion part, because it is only the discussion part that will indicate the innovativeness and the new findings that has been identified by us, and to what extent same findings are being supported by the literature. So that's why this is the section which is the hardest and the difficult part that the researchers they have to write, and they have to spend more time and they have to put more efforts when they are going to write this discussion part of the paper. So what we have to include in this discussion part? Before the discussion part, it was the finding that was going to take place. The results that was going to take place. When we talk about regarding the results, in the results, the interpretations that has been written by indicating the fact and figures. But when we are going to write this discussion part, we should avoid using the fact and figures. We have to clear cut indicating the findings. Only the text that we have to write. We should not use the different number, fact and figures when we are going to write the discussion part. So whatever the findings that we are going to write in the discussion part, it must answer what research questions that has been raised by us in the introduction section. It must include the answers that we supposed to write here based upon the research questions that have been raised by us in the introduction section. Whatever findings that we are going to write, whatever the research, the answers that we are going to write here, it must correlate with the literature. Means whatever the answers that we are going to write, the findings that we are going to write here, it must be supported by the literature. Same results are there as far as the past studies that have already been done by the others. If in case some discrepancies are there, we have to find out, we have to indicate our results are different from the results of in the existing literature with some justification. These are the reasons our results are different from the results in the past. If in case we are going to have a new finding, something new and unique that has been identified by us, and the new findings that we are going to have in the research, we have to highlight those innovativeness and those new findings. But we have to avoid overemphasizing on that thing. Same mistake that has been done by me last year in my paper. And because of that mistake, I have to revise my paper almost 5 to 6 times. Means 5 to 6 times revisions that have been received, the revisions that have been received by us. One new concept that have been identified by us, we were the first people, the sharp marketing that construct that have been introduced by us in the literature. And earlier it was not there in the literature. But because we have overemphasized that share of marketing, because that was the new that has been emerged, that has been developed by us. But because we have overemphasized that thing in the discussion part, and all the time, the number of time we have to give the justification. This is the reason I would suggest we have to highlight the findings, but we have to avoid over-emphasizing on the same. When we are about to complete the discussion part, we have to indicate the limitations and the future research direction. And the another most important part, normally you must have seen that if you, and you have been, the number of time you must have get the comments from the different journals. The theoretical implication part is weak, or the practical or the managerial implication part is weak. You have to elaborate more. So we have to be very careful when we are going to write this discussion part by more with special reference to this theoretical and the practical implication part of the research findings are concerned. Theoretical implication means how our research is going to contribute to the literature, how it will add value in the review of literature or in the body of knowledge that have already been developed someone else. What exactly, how our research is going to be beneficial for the practitioner or for the different organizations. To what extent our results are going to be generalized. So we have to be very careful when we are going to write about all these things. So when we are going to talk about all these things, we have to include these things. Now the second last section of the research manuscript, that was conclusion. Normally I have seen that the few scholars and the researchers, whatever informations they are going to include in the abstract part and in the conclusion part, more or less same informations they are going to have in both sections, abstract and in the conclusions. But I would suggest, as far as the conclusion part is concerned, it must indicate only and only the key findings that we are going to have along with the implication of the study. I repeat again, in the conclusion part, we have to include only the key findings that we are going to have along with some implication, again that all would be based upon the key findings that we are going to have in the research. We should not summarize it is not like the summary that we are going to write for the research paper that have already been done by us in the abstract part. So as far as whatever the findings and the implications that we are going to write in the conclusion part, it must be consistent with the research objective and the introduction. So these are the different things that we have to consider when we are going to write conclusion. And the last part is the references. As I have already mentioned in the beginning, normally we have been getting a rejection because of the mistakes that have been done by us in the reference section. And even you people can see that majority of mistakes, even you people can identify the incomplete references are there, or the unrequired references that have been the citations that we are going to include in the reference section. And this is the section that is normally a more problematic for the different journals, that may become a cause of the headache for the editors and the chief editors. In this case, in this section, we have to include only those references or that are directly related with the study that we are going to conduct. We should not include too many references just because of to increase the references. That will not make any make our paper more effective. We have to avoid self-citation. No doubt we have to do one and two self-citation that we can have, but we have to avoid excessive self-citation. We have to avoid the citations from the same area. Say for example, if I have been conducting a research in a impulse buying behavior and the religiosity, and if I have been taking paper and citing more paper from the one specific area, means the citations that are going to take place more specifically from the one only the offline impulse buying behavior only, and that will make our paper weak by having excessive citation from the same area and even from the same research journal. So these are the different things that we have to consider when we are going to write the reference section. That was all about. Till now I have talked about regarding the different parts of the manuscript, the different things that we have to consider when we are going to decide the title. We are going to write the abstract, the introduction part, research methodology, finding, discussion, conclusion, and at the last a references part. Because even you people now you can observe, we cannot avoid even a single part of the manuscript. All they are having their own importance and all are going to play an important role to develop the quality research and manuscript. Now there are a few tips that I would share with all of you for the publications. Okay, why we have to go for the publications? If you have the new idea and the new results from the study that you are going to conduct. So if in case you have been writing a paper on the systematic review of literature, irrespective of the technique that you have been using, and you are coming with something new findings from the review and from after summarizing the different research paper. If your research study is going to contribute something new in the literature, so if you are going to have all these things, innovativeness, new findings, and you are going to add something new in the literature, only then you have to go for the publications. But if in case you have been using outdated information, the duplication of the work means the same work and the same study that you are going to conduct that have already been done by someone else in the past, and just it is the repetitions that is going to take place in your research. If all these things are going to take place in your research, don't go for the publications. The only good manuscript is to contribute something new to the community. Means whatever the implications and the suggestions that are going to take place, that must be very fruitful for the society or for the researchers. So before you start writing a manuscript, first we do not have to get panic. Normally I have seen that even if I talk about regarding my past experience, because the number of times the rejections that I have been getting for my research paper, and ultimately I get panic, and because of that, even at one stage I was ready to pay for to get my paper published. But I would suggest we should not get panic, and we have to remain calm. We have to keep patience. We have to keep hard working if we have to get our paper published in a quality research journal. So you have to put these questions from yourself before you start planning to go for the publication. So whatever research topic the research, the study that you are going to conduct, the research manuscript you are going to write, is it new and interesting? Whatever research that you are going to write or the research manuscript that you are going to write, is it new and interesting? So whatever topic that has been taken by you, it is hot topic. Will it provide a solutions to the different problems? If you are having a answer for a yes answer for all these questions, I would suggest you have to go ahead, you have to proceed to get your paper published. You must have seen that in the last 2 years, because of this COVID-19, the number of new research that have been taken place, all because of this pandemic. The number of different research, irrespective of the research area, marketing, finance, HR, commerce, even in the sciences, in the different streams, because it was new and interesting for all the audience. The topic was current and it was providing a solutions to the different problems. And the people and the researchers were ready to get their paper published. So before we are planning to write a research manuscript, we have to identify all these things. Now choosing the topic. What topic that we have to choose? In the beginning, we must have a broad idea regarding the research that we are going to have. If I talk about regarding my own experience, when I started my PhD, the only the thing that was there in my mind, I have to conduct a research in the e-marketing. But e-marketing, that was a broad idea. What exactly that I will do in this e-marketing? And already the number of research that have already been done by the others. So after having a broad and idea, we have to identify, we have to make it more narrow so that we can exactly identify what exactly that we are going to try, because the different things that are going to take place when we are just going to have the broad idea. So I was talking about regarding the e-marketing, the different research that have already been done by the different persons. So the another to make it in a narrow way, I decided I will study regarding the ethical issues. But what exactly? Because the number of different ethical issues were there. What ethical issues that I will include in my research? Then after having a discussion with the expert, with my research guide, by reading the literatures, then we were able to identify spamming, spyware, cookies. So these were the issues that were new in the literature, and no one have studied on these ethical issues. So this is how the topic that has been narrowed down by us, and we were able. So meaning, therefore, before you are going to choose the topic, you have to read the literature, and more the literature that you are going to read and you are going to review, more clarity that you will have, and you would be able to narrow down your topic in a accurate and in a better way. And you would be able to identify the research gap that still exists, and that would be the base to develop your research questions. So these are the different way that we can use in order to narrow down the topic that I will not do today. Say for example, in this case, one of the best paper that we are going to have in A category and in a journal having a high impact factor. Religious influence in an unrestrained consumer behavior. In this case, impulse buying and compulse buying that have been taken, two concepts that have been taken by us. And we have tried to find out the relationship of this religiosity with the consumer behavior. So after reading the literature, we have been able to identify the 2 and 3 concepts. So this is how the topic that has been identified and chosen by us, and the study that has been narrowed down us keeping in mind the research, the literature that is going to take place. Two types of approaches that we can have, deductive and the inductive. If in case we are already having a theory for the topic, for the research that we are going to have, then we are going to use the deductive research approach. The only thing that we are going to do in this deductive research approach is we are going to confirm the theory. Confirm the theory means we are only going to confirm the results that have already been done by someone else in the past, but we have been confirming it in an innovative or in a new way or in a new market. But if in case we are not going to have any theory for the study that we are going to conduct, then we will go for inductive research design. In this case, we are not going to confirm the results. In this case, we are going to develop the new theories. As I was talking about, if I talk about regarding the different, the theories that have already been developed by someone else, and I have been using those theories in my research. If I talk about, say for example, a social commerce, I was in the previous slide I was talking about the TAM model that have been technology acceptance model that have been used by us in the social commerce. That was the example of a deductive research approach, because TAM model or technology acceptance model that was the theory that have already been developed by David in 1998, and same we were going to use. The only concern is before you are going to start the research, you must be clear regarding either you are going to have the deductive research approach or you are going to have the inductive research approach. Accordingly you will decide you can going to use the standardized or unstandardized scale. If in case the theories are already existing, meaning therefore you are going to use the deductive, you have to go for the standardized scales in order to get the information. But if in case no any theories are there in this literature and you are going to use the inductive research approach, you have to develop your questionnaire your own. Another most important part is the theoretical framework. What exactly theoretical framework is? It is basically, as I was talking about, the theories that have already been developed by someone else, and you are going to apply those theories in your research in an innovative way. Because this theoretical framework, normally you must have seen that the different reviewer, they will ask for the theory that have been used by us in the research manuscript, and they will, at present, majority of the research papers that you can have, that you must be reading, they all have theoretical framework. There will be no any research manuscript, research paper which are not having a theoretical framework. This is possible only in those cases where theories are lacking, where theories are not still developed by someone else. But majority of the research that are going on these days, they all they all are having a theoretical framework. So in this case, theoretical framework will indicate the kind of relationship that we are going to test among the different constructs that we are going to use in the research manuscript. The only thing that we have to, as I was talking about, the only things that we have to focus is how we have been going to use the theories in an innovative way in our present research. There is one website from where you can identify all the theories that we can have. Just a minute. This is the website. From this website we can identify all the theories that have already been developed by the different experts, irrespective of the theories that belongs to the HR, finance, marketing, IT, computer sciences, etc. So these are the different theories that have been developed by the different persons, and from here we can easily identify which theory that we can use and which is more appropriate the research that we are going to use. A few examples of for this theoretical background that have been given by us, and this the model that have been given in this PPT that was regarding the TAM, technology acceptance model, that was developed by Davis. Now the another important, normally we get confused, does theoretical background and the conceptual background are the same or they are the different? My dear friends, theoretical background or the theoretical framework of the paper is not at all the same that we are going to use this conceptual model in the research manuscript. When we are going to club two or more than two theories in order to develop our research model, that will become a conceptual model for the paper. Say for example, in this paper, compulsive buying behavior, impulsive buying behavior, and the religiosity. So these are the three different theories that have been developed by three different experts. And we are going to use these three different theories in order to develop our research model. And that research model, that would be the base for developing the research objective, research questions, and the research hypothesis that we are going to have. So theoretical framework and conceptual framework, both are the different things. They are not the same. Another suggestion that we have to use only the active voice in the paper. No doubt we can use this passive voice, but that will make our paper weak. So instead of using a passive voice in the research papers, we have to go for this active voice. That will make our paper more better, more effective, and normally all the research journal, they prefer to the active voice that must be used in the research paper. Listening to the reviewers. We have to, whatever the comments and the reviews that we have been getting from the different experts and from the different reviews, we have to use them, we have to treat them as a gold dust. Normally, whatever the comments, no doubt I have been getting a criticism for my paper and have been getting a comments from the different reviewers and different experts, and I'll always treat them as in a positive way, because that will enhance my knowledge. I'm going to learn something new in which I have been lacking. So I always treat them in a positive way. So we have to, whatever the reviews and the comments that we have been getting, we have to take them as in a positive way. But normally I have seen that there are few researchers and the scholars, they do not take them as in a positive way, and they start criticizing to the experts and the reviewers who have sent the comments, like how they can send such kind of criticism and the comments, because so different persons, they are having their point of view. So I would suggest all the reviews and the comments that we have been getting, we have to treat them as a golden dust and take them as a positive way. We have to be, whatever, after getting the review, whatever the replies that we are going to give to them, we have to very politely, we have to respond whatever the comments that have been given by them, and we warmly we have to reply by them. One So whatever reply that we are going to them, reply to them, we have to be very polite, by patiently and respectfully. Respectably, we have to reply to all of them. Now we have to identify in which paper, in which journal we have to publish our paper. It is only the impact factor and MEDKC index that will indicate the journal, the quality journal that we have been going to use for the publication. So impact factor that will reflect the average number of citation, means a paper, a journal which are going to have high citations for the paper that it has been publishing, more impact factor that journal they are going to have. One formula that has been given at the end of this slide, how we are going to identify the impact factor of the journal. So if, for example, 2 years back, the papers that have been published by them, whatever the citation rate that they are going to have, we are going to divide them with the number of articles that have been published in the last 2 years. So this is how we are going to calculate the impact factor of the journal. It is at the international level or worldwide impact factor that is going to indicate the quality of the journal, and this is only the factor that normally all the different educational and the research institutes, they are going to consider the quality of the journal. Higher the impact factor of the journal, more qualitative it is, higher the quality that journal they are going to have. No doubt there are few paid journals and unethical way they are increasing their impact factor, but but in a long time period they are not going to remain in the research. Somehow you must have seen that the number of the different journals, initially they were there in the Scopus Index or in the ABDC journal, even in the UGC care list, but because they all were there because of some unethical practices, now they are out from the list. This is the few journals, they are having their own impact factor. Nature, as I was in the beginning, I was talking about one of the worldwide, one of the most renowned journal, they are having a higher impact factor in comparison to the other journal. H index, it indicates the productivity and the impact of the published work of the researchers. H index, just like an impact factor that we calculate for the journal, similarly the different researchers, the organizations, they are having their own H index that will indicate the productivity. Say for example, if I talk about myself, I am going to have a 8 or 9 H index that I am going to have. That will indicate my productivity, my efficiency as a researcher. How it is being calculated? It is calculated based upon the high citation that I am going to have from my journal and the total citation that I am going to have from the journal. It is not only the human being and the researchers for which we can calculate the H index, even the different departments. Say for example, me belongs to School of Management Study, Punjabi University Patiala. Even because I am having a H index, similarly based upon the citations of all the faculties belonging to the School of Management Study or Punjabi University of Patiala, H index that will be calculated. So H index, H index is not only belongs to the researchers, even for the different the departments and the educational institutes, they can calculate their own H index. And normally, I do not know whether to what extent I would be right or wrong, but what exactly I am predicting in future, the good or the reputed educational institutes and the research institutes, they are not going to collect the applications for the jobs. They would be indicating they only going to use this H index in order to evaluate the persons or in order for the screening of the different applications they have been getting for the job. So we have to try to improve our H index, and that H index, that all would be based upon the high citations that we are going to have for our research paper. Why we have to get our paper published in a high impact of journal? If your idea is new, unique, innovative, only then you would be able to get the publication in the high impact factor journal. Otherwise, if it is whatever research that we are going to conduct, it is a replication of the past study, forget about, you would be able to get your paper published in a high impact factor journals. Just like a law of gravity, it was a unique, new, innovative findings that was there, and all the journals with high impact factor, they would love to publish their and they study in their journals. But if in case same finding that I'm going to have for my study, which is lacking a innovativeness and the newness, no new findings are there, then I will not be able to get my paper published in a high impact factor journals. Why we have to get our paper published in a high impact factor journal? Publish or perish. If my research is new, unique, I'm going to contribute to the community, I'm going to contribute to the review of literature, then I have to get my paper published only in a high impact factor journal. If it is just a replication and out of date, nothing new findings that have been identified, then I can get it published in any local journal. That will not make give any satisfaction to me. By having a high publication in a high impact factor journal, more chances for the citation for my paper that will be there. I will be having a more recognition among my colleagues, among my friends, that I have been able to get paper published in a high impact factor journal. Even if I talk about the different the different universities, more specifically if I talk about regarding the IITs, NIT, IIMs, they are giving financial incentive to their scholars and to their teachers if they have been able to get paper published in a high impact factor journal. If I talk about regarding IIMs, if the faculty and the research scholars, they have been able to get a paper published in a category journal, they are going to offer 4 lakh rupees for that publication. So this is how you can realize how much importance that they are going to give to the to a quality publication and to get it published in a high impact factor journal. Now we have to decide which journal that we have to choose. Normally I suggest to my scholars, they have to choose the journals that belongs to the category of, that belongs to the list of ABTC index journal. These are the list that normally all the IIMs they have been using for the publications for their research manuscript and the Scopus index. Otherwise, normally because even if I have been a part of the public university, and in order to get a promotion, the only thing that I supposed to do, I just have to get a publication only in the UGC care list. I have nothing to do with this Scopus and ABDC index journal, because these are not being required by the university to get. If I have to promote, if I have to get my get the promotions, but because all the Scopus index journals, they all are being included in this in the UGC care and the list, and same has been if I talk about the Web of Science and Indus Science journals. So we have to try for the high category and the top ranked journal to get our paper published. We have to prefer those journals which are publishing same work in which you are going to work. Say for example, if I have been conducting a research on a religiosity and on a religion and consumer behavior, there is one journal that belongs to the A category journal, the Journal of Islamic Marketing. So this is how I have to identify the different journals they have been publishing a similar work that I have been working on, and this is how I would be having a more chances that my paper that would be accepted by that journal, because whatever research that I have been conducting and the kind of research they have been publishing is similar. Or another way, we have to identify the journal from the references or the different journals that have been cited by us in the research manuscript. Among them, we can select one to get our paper published. So these are the different factors, the different tools basically that we can use in order to identify the journals, peer review. Normally the major reasons for the rejections are there. The study that is just the confirmation of the previous research. As I was talking about, if I've been, whatever the research that I'm going to conduct, it is a replication for the past study. I'm not identifying, I'm not studying any something new. It is just a replication, then the chances are there I'm going to get the rejection for my paper. Research design is not appropriately explained and used by us for the research design. The journal that I have been targeted for the publication, there has been a mismatch among the theme that the paper and the journal that have been chosen by us. The presentation part and the writing part that has been weak. So these are the different reasons due to which we are going to get the rejections for the paper. Even at the international level, different reasons that would be there. We have to go for the proper time management. Means daily we have to devote a time for the research. If in case some break down that are going to take place, say for example, since last 2 and 3 days I have been working and because of some reason I have not been able to continue the work for the another 2 days. So some break that are going to take place, and ultimately whenever I'm again going to start the work, ultimately because the things, the research is just like I have to start from the very beginning, just to recall what exactly the things that have already been done by us, that have already been done by me, and then I will start. We have to be very punctual in this when we are going to conduct a research. It is basically a continuous process that will there. If in case some break is going to take place, we would not be able to get paper. So these are the different tools that we can use in order to select the right journal for the publications. The different Elsevier, they are going to have a Elsevier journal finder, Springer journals. What exactly that we have to do in this whatever tool that we are going to use, you just have to put the title in this tool, and it will give you a list of the different journals that you can target for your paper, for your research manuscript publications. Or even there are few tools, they will prefer to put your abstract in the in this finder tool, and they will let you know the number of the different journals that you can target for your research paper publication. And what makes a good manuscript? If your research area, research idea is new, the research that you are going to conduct is a hot topic, current topic, and so you would be able to get your paper published, and you would be able to develop a good research manuscript. We have to enjoy our research work. If we are not able to enjoy the research, we are not able to cherish our work, then how we can expect that the reader who is going to later on, once our paper has been published and the reader, they are going to cherish, they would be enjoy the work if we have been not. So I would suggest whenever you are going to conduct, we have to enjoy the research journey, and there is no any secret for any this for research publication. The only secret is we have to dedicate, we have to hard work, we have to keep patience when we are going to develop the work. So there is no any secret recipe for the success. Presentation part is very critical. I would say the way we are going to present the things in the manuscript, that is more important for the journals, for the reviewers, for the readers, for the editor and the chief editors of the journal. So that's all about from my side. Any questions, any doubts that you are going to have, you are most welcome.
Yes, students, if anybody having any doubt, you can clarify your doubt. Yes, anyone? Anyone having any doubt, please? Okay, Dr. Satinder ji, I on behalf of RIMT University and the entire Department of School of Management, Studies and Commerce would like to thank you for an enlightening session on quality publication, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank
So
you.
thank you so much for taking time from your busy schedule. Thank you very much,
Please,
sir.
please. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot,
Thank you
ma'am.
so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you.